advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.
It is now time for the live broadcast of the NAACP with Gwinnett, Westbrook, and Mr. Dumas.
And good evening and welcome once again to the NAACP Truth Show. I'm your host, Willie Dumas. Joining me today is Miss Maria Bryant, and we're coming off a joyous Christmas holiday. And I know most of you have had a happy and Merry Christmas yourself. Hope you didn't eat too much, as I did. I did a lot of cooking and enjoyed a lot of good food. And so it's a joyous time, but also a lot of things going on. So we're going to keep it real today. We're going to talk politics. We're going to talk voting. We're going to talk about this heated Senate election and what's going on with that. And Maria, I know you've been
our public service commissioner also.
Oh, I keep leaving that out. It's so much focus on this Senate race. We tend to forget about the public service commissioner race, but that's just as important. And so we want to make sure that we're doing those things, that we're paying attention, that we're voting. And I see we've got President Westbrook joining us by Skype.
Hi.
Good to have you with us as well. You look well rested, and you were a little under the weather the past holiday.
Yes.
Days. And so we're certainly happy to see you join us today.
Thank you.
You want to start out by greeting the folk and kind of letting them know that it's still important to vote. It's still important to get out. We're still in the early voting stage. And in case you didn't know, you've got up until what, the 31st?
Nope, the 30th.
No, it's the 30th.
It's the 30th.
Yes,
okay.
you were. I think you were right.
I was right on last week.
Yeah.
Okay.
The problem is that it's some groups that have filed lawsuits trying to have them actually keep the early voting till the 31st. So they're waiting on a court hearing.
The judge has already ruled that we do not have to open on the 31st because the county is closed.
Wow. Well, we wouldn't mind, really. I guess a lot of folk wouldn't really mind an extra day, but that just lets you know, time is winding down. And so if you haven't done so, make sure you get out there and cast your vote.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was just saying, I see where Commissioner Elaine Lucas just said hello NAACP on Facebook.
Well, hello there.
Hello. Commissioner.
Yes. And we just want to thank her and for her support, continued support of this organization. But you're so right. It's very important that we get out and vote. If you have not been listening to the news, it's everywhere. Everywhere you turn on your television, your radio, they're talking about it, about this upcoming election. Is so very important. I did get out on Saturday and put out about 40 signs. I do have some more. If people want signs in their yard, they could just call our office and we'll be glad. I think I have a few more left. Maria had about 50. I think she's put out hers out. I think I have about 10 more. So it's just so very important that we vote in every level of government in every election, because you see what happens when we get out and vote. You see the consequences. You see what we could get done. You see the results of what happens when you do get out and vote. Just want to, myself and First Vice President Dumas was talking earlier, and I'm just concerned because we have all these campaign ads that are going on, and I'm just saying to the people, just saying to the people to make sure that you do your research.
Absolutely.
Do your research on these campaign ads, because some of it does not make sense. It's public record. If you have any doubt or any concerns, or any doubt, then do your research. It's out there, because that's what I did. Some things have been negatively, have negative campaign ads have been put out there on all the candidates. And so what I did was I took the campaign ads and I did my research, and what I'm finding out is that basically all of it some of it has been taken out of content.
Absolutely.
They've either edited what was said, or they've basically not added to it, but they've taken away from what was said to make it look like something happened negatively or that was said negative. So I'm just telling you to do your research. My concern as a voter, not as the president of the NAACP, but as the president of the NAACP, but also as a citizen, as a voter. What is it going to take to get us out of this pandemic economically? How this is going to affect with this pandemic, with COVID, how is it going to affect people with healthcare? So when you got ads that says that people voted against the stimulus checks, you got candidates that voted against unemployment, that is what concerns me. Because we're talking about economy, we're talking about healthcare. When you talk about people that voted against people that have pre-existing condition, that's what's important. All this other stuff is not as a concern to me. But like I say, I've done my research. The sermons that have been preached, I've done my research. I've read the whole sermon, what the whole sermon said, not what part of it said. So a lot of this stuff is being took out of context. An investigation against someone that's possibly go federal prison. I've done the research on that. There's no such thing. There's no such investigation that's taken place. What I am concerned about is whether or not, and I'm not saying this to make people vote in any for a Republican or for a Democrat. I'm basically dealing with the facts and the issues. We need to be concerned about whether or not the crisis that we're in, how is it going to affect this country? You know, we was just reading where an actual doctor died because of the way she was treated. She felt that she was not getting the proper health care, even as a physician, because she was Black. Wow. And she died.
Right. So
myself, I'm working in healthcare, not necessarily as a nurse or a doctor, but working on the financial end. I know that patients are treated different that do not have health care. I know that for a fact.
Absolutely.
And so it happens. People are saying that it's not true, but it does happen. It exists.
Since we're on that, President Westbrook, as it relates to the vaccines and the distribution of the vaccines, I know there are some concerns about people who are living in rural areas, if they will be able to get the vaccine, as opposed to those who are, close to hospitals, close to the drugstores, and those kinds of things. So that's something I guess we'll continue to watch as they roll out these vaccines throughout the year.
Yes. And so right now, I think that they're distributing it to the front end people, the essential workers, the nursing homes, places like that. I basically watched a video earlier, basically, I think it was yesterday, of a person that I know that was just recently released from the hospital that had COVID. And I was basically in tears watching that video. And it was just so sad because she was basically giving praise because she wants people to know that that COVID is real. She was very sick.
Wow.
And I was just in tears to just had another friend's sister that passed. And and people think young people can't, contract this COVID. And basically that's where it started from a teenager.
Wow.
So we still have people not wearing masks.
Right.
Still have people not wearing masks. And I just don't know what it's going to take for people to get it. I'm saying you see, we got the government don't even, we $600 is a help, but you got the president that wants to give a $2,000 stimulus check. And you have the Republican Party saying no.
Wow.
I'm just telling the truth. I'm not trying to tell anybody who to vote for, but $600 is not a lot of money. I'm not saying it won't help, but when you look at people that depend on their check every week to pay their mortgage,
Right,
to pay their utilities, to pay car insurance, life insurance, all this stuff. You got people that live from check to check.
Absolutely.
But people that have money do not know. They don't know what it's like to be in those situations, because when you got money, you can get out a lot of things. It's a lot you can do when you have money. So I'm just hoping that the people are listening and they're watching.
Right. And we've noticed, during our poll watching, that there are a lot of people showing up and numbers look good. And so hopefully that will continue throughout the early voting all the way up to January 5th.
Yes, I'm just saying, I just hope that these people get back out like they did in the election, because I'm telling you, people are showing their true color. When they're put under pressure, people show their true color.
Absolutely.
Through last Wednesday, we've had 17,997 people to vote.
Is that more
that's in Bibb County?
Okay.
That's in Bibb County, and that's through last Wednesday.
Through last Wednesday, okay.
Yes. So we have 3 days this week, and then we have election day on January the 5th. So we're asking people, if you have your ballots, already have your ballots, please complete those ballots and take them and put them in the box at the board of election. Don't put them in the mail. Take them. You have a ballot box on Pine Elm, and then you have one downtown next to the courthouse. So you can put your ballots there. So please, ma'am, and please, sir, let's get those completed and get them back in.
Okay. So, Mr. Dumas, I know that we talked a little bit about, the stress and everything that's on people and at home, and we had someone to come in and talk about that. and don't want to speculate, but I just don't. I'm just concerned about this bombing that's in Tennessee. That's so close to home.
Absolutely.
Just so close to home, and just don't know why or what happened.
Well, that's part of the climate that has been, created throughout the election cycle, where you got so much division against different races of people that these types of things are probably going to be more, more prevalent than we've seen in the past. And so when I heard about the situation this weekend, it was almost as if one of those dreams you didn't want to see come true, but you kind of felt at some point something of this volatility would probably occur.
Yeah, and with and everything that's going on with we really, I have not in my adult years seen this much division and racism, discrimination, hatred.
It's hatred.
And
Hatred.
in the last 4 years, it's unreal, and it's getting worse. Oh, I just, we're not living in the days that, people are not afraid now.
Yeah.
And so I just can remember, coming up to the election 4 years ago, and the NAACP were getting, the sheriff department said they were not threats, but I took it as a threat. And people were calling, white people were calling the office and threatening, and they were, saying a lot of different things, about, black people are the only one, their own welfare, and we don't do anything but have babies and get on welfare, but people really, and there was going to be a lot of blood shedding, and they were getting their guns ready, and to me that was a threat. Because all of everything that they're saying basically is happening. You can't even go in the store and buy ammunition and guns, because they basically telling you, unless they're not telling the truth, that the guns are bought up, they're bought out, they're sold out. So we've gotten some threats and phone calls, racist phone calls, but I just try to save those messages in case anything comes up. And so people, it's just so much division, racism, discrimination, hatred toward a race or anyone that's affiliated with a certain type of race. It's not making sense that people would hate a race the way we're hated, and for what reason.
Absolutely.
They say that we're not equal, and I don't understand. Just because of the color of a person's skin, it's not making sense.
And in a lot of these situations, it causes people to feel helpless. But one of the things that they can do to kind of have that sense of helplessness put behind them is to vote.
Yes.
And get out and vote.
Right.
Their choice to
Your
make
voice.
A difference.
Your power is in the vote.
In the vote.
Absolutely.
Power's in the vote.
And so we just gotta make sure that we keep voting, not just in this election, because you have your local and your state government also, and we gotta make sure that we get back out the same. Because like I was telling them, when we were fighting some years ago, when they was trying to move a precinct to the one of the police precincts. Right. And the NAACP fought against that, and we did win that, because we actually got out and we we had to have so many signatures by that particular precinct's population. So we did get out and we walked the streets and got the signatures for our petition. And the state president at that time was President Johnson that came down and did a press conference. And so we were able to stop that that precinct from being put at a police station, because we felt that that would be more people that did not vote. People just have a phobia about police. And to say that I have to go vote at a police station, a lot of people were not going to vote. And in that particular area, there's always a low voters turnout in our state and local elections, not the presidential election. They get out and vote during that time, but in a state and local election, there's always a low voter turnout in that precinct. So that's why we fought so hard to make sure that that did not happen, because whether you're on a felony probation or misdemeanor probation, people just tends to have a phobia when it comes to the police, and especially going voting at a police precinct. I just didn't think that it was going to happen. So we just got to make sure that we get people out to vote. Got a few things that like I say, it's almost election time. Well, the runoff on the 5th. We want to make sure that people vote before work or before school, during the lunch break, after work or school. There are some jobs do some jobs do have allow you to take time off. I know the state of Georgia does, just depending on when those are open and what time you go to work and what time you get off from work, that they will allow you time to vote. Make sure you know your polling place on election day on the 5th. Make sure you know your polling place.
Go to
you can go to iwillvote.com. You can go there and find out where you're supposed to vote at. Make sure you take your ID, such as your driver's license, passport, or voter identification card. I know that the Board of Election will give those, provide that, but there's certain information you have to have. We're going to talk about that we got one more show before the election. Go over this information. You got to have some type of bill with your address on it. You got to have a birth certificate and a social security card in order for the Board of Elections to issue you an ID so you'll be able to vote. If you do not have a driver's license, a passport, or voter identification, then you could actually do a provisional ballot that day, but you have to have your have your identification and take it to the Board of Elections within 3 days in order for your ballot to be counted. Or if you see where you're not going to do that, you can call our office at 478-745-9944. We will not give you any money to get a driver's license, but we will pay for persons that have problems getting identification. We will actually pay for that, but we will not give anyone any money. We have to have a record of documentation. We just want people to make sure that they have the proper identification to vote.
Also, President Westbrook, just remember, anybody that's a part of a state schools only, you can use your ID. That's a form of ID for state schools only.
Okay. And Ms. Bryant, can you please, elaborate a little bit about our students? Because we do have some students that are out-of-state students.
If you're out-of-state students, you had to request an absentee ballot. That ballot can be mailed to them on campus, and then they mail that ballot back in. But they have to have that because they're not here. So they can get a absentee ballot mailed to them at their college camp. So please request one. And they can go online. You can go to the My Voter page and you can request an absentee on that page.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Good. So we're gonna be having a we're gonna be doing a, I'm sorry you all, I didn't realize that my phone was here. I apologize.
And we also want to emphasize that there are 3 voting locations. You can go to the Board of Elections, 2525 Pinona Avenue. You can also go to the Theron Archery Center, and you can go to the Elaine Lucas Center. So those are your 3 locations, and those voting sites are open from 8:30 to 5:30. Doing early voting on election day, the time is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that's only on January the 5th, election day. Early voting is always 8:30 to 5.
Okay.
And also, I'd like to make a quick announcement as it relates to the annual Emancipation Proclamation program. It's going to be a drive-in event this year, and it'll be on Friday, January 1st at 2 o'clock at St. Paul AME Church. And there'll be various ministers, and Senator Davis Lucas will also speak. And it's sponsored by the Evangelical Ministerial Alliance. And that program will kick off the 2021 MLK series in the event of honoring Dr. Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas, for that. And what we talked about, what we normally do, we just gotta kind of still in the planning. We always feed the sanitation workers in honor of Dr. King, because we know that during his assassination, we know that he was actually there trying to get better pay and working conditions for the sanitation workers. So we always, in conjunction with the MLK commissioners, which Commissioner Lucas is a part of, she always makes sure that we get what we need in conjunction with with this event. And so we just gotta do something a little more creative. We still want to try to do something for our sanitation workers, because a lot of times they're when it's cold, they're the ones that out here still having to pick up our trash. So no matter what the weather is, no matter what the conditions are, we're in a pandemic, they're still having to work. So we want to still make sure that we honor those. And so in Dr. King's name, so we will be meeting on our final decisions and getting with the commissioners, MLK commissioners, to get them involved in the planning. We're probably going to do something like a food truck or something like that, where we won't have contact, but we still want to be able to do something for the sanitation workers, because that's something that we've been doing annually. We hate that we missed out on our veterans. We normally do dinner or lunch for our veterans also, so we just got to make up for that. This pandemic has really hit us hard on doing things that where we have to have contact. We normally do a Christmas tree with hats and gloves and different things like that for our for the children in the community. So we actually donated this year. We actually didn't do the tree, but we made a donation of hats and gloves this year.
Also, I thought it was kind of ironic in the past election with COVID-19, being all over the country. They were expecting probably a lower voter turnout, but it seems that the pandemic brought out more people than they probably would have brought out had it not been.
It did. Well, a lot of people were doing absentee ballots. And they wouldn't allow the absentee ballots to be voted until the day of election. So that was the backlog because they couldn't start counting the absentee ballots, and so many people did submitted their ballot by absentee. So I think that's going to be the way it's going to be probably this time too. A lot of people are going to do absentee ballots. Do you have that number, Ms. Bryant, on the number of absentee ballots that has been submitted so far?
No, I know we had at the last board of election meeting, I think there was 18,000 that was sent out, and there was 8,200 that they had already received back in. But I do know people are continuing to send you the absentee ballots in.
Okay.
Because when I passed the board of election today, they will still have a short line around the board this afternoon. So people are still getting out to vote. And we're asking people, please get out. Please complete those ballots. Turn them in. We need every vote counts. Don't say your vote doesn't matter. Every vote counts. So we need for everybody to get out and vote. Get all your family members, if they're registered. If you want to go to the poll, take them and make sure they vote. But if you have absentees, we're begging you to please complete those absentees and turn them in.
Yeah, and I know that I think the judge has already ruled. I know two of the candidates had filed a lawsuit to try to with this people that did absentee ballots. I mean, not absentee ballots, that people did register to vote between
November the 3rd.
November the 3rd and December the 7th. Right, December the 7th. So I think they ruled against them on that, which is a form of voter suppression.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They're trying to change the law in the middle of an election.
Right.
Dan, this is nothing to do with trying to tell you who to vote for, but the facts are there.
Absolutely.
The facts are there. It's in black and white. It's on television. It's on the radio. It's on the news. That you have people that are trying to change the law in the middle of an election, and that's a form of voter suppression.
Absolutely.
And I'm telling you, people, they are scared because you know what? This election put me in the mind of Selma, Bloody Sunday. I'm telling you, it does. If you read the history of it, it tells you how people were beaten during the time of trying to get people registered to vote, and they had a history of people not really getting out to vote the way they should have been voted. But during that next election, I think it was they registered over 200,000 people.
Wow.
And when they got out and voted, and it made a difference in the election. Those people did not go back in office. So it kind of puts me, this past election is historical, and it puts me in the mind of Bloody Sunday, in Selma, during the time in Selma, because of it shows you the results, what happens when people actually get out and vote.
If your vote didn't matter, that's why they're trying to suppress your vote. They keep telling people, they don't want you to vote. So that lets you know your vote is very, very important. And that's where the power comes from, through voting. So we need to get out and vote. That is your power. Your vote is your power.
Well,
if you don't vote, you can't complain.
Yeah, because if, like you say, if your vote didn't count, people wouldn't try so hard.
They're doing everything. It's everything they can think of to keep you from going to the polls to vote. So we just need to divide them and say, I'm voting. I
Well,
don't care what you say.
one thing, you know, every race has their own history. And whether you're black, white, Hispanic, whatever, they have their own history. Black people have their own. We have a history that's unique. That's and people don't. And I say this, and people, and I'm telling the truth. Other races know more about our history than we do because we have a unique history, and people want to know about our history. Right. And so it's two things that I do know that we have power in. We have power in the vote, and we have power in the spending.
We do.
We make up. We don't make up a large amount of the population in the country, but we spend more money than any race in this country.
Right.
And I guess those numbers are yet to be released with this past holiday season as far as how much money we actually spent as a people.
Yeah. But you know, they update it every year. They tell you how much money black people spend. And so we spend more money than anybody. And we're the ones that are keeping the stores open and making everybody rich except for ourselves. So
well, that's part of the reason for the stimulus is to stimulate the economy, because they know once people receive those checks, a large portion of that money will be pushed back into the economy.
Yeah, they put it back into the economy. So, you know, we got to stop doing that. We gotta spend wisely because we see that people don't want to help. Like I said, if you've never been there, you know, people can say what they want to say. They can say that they know, they don't know. If you've never been there, you do not know.
Right.
So if you've always had money, you do not know. And so I just gotta, I'm not understanding. We got people in office that can make a difference and they don't want to help. People have lost their job, not of any fault of their own.
True.
They, you know, people can't help because they're getting sick. And a lot of times, this is something that we gotta do. We kind of got slack on it because of this pandemic, but we educate. We got to educate people. It's people that are detecting COVID, not, you know, whether it's at work or where, but they don't know these jobs are not paying them for being out these 14 days. A lot of jobs are not, because they don't know, because the employee don't know their rights. They don't know that they're supposed to be, getting paid to be out those 14 days. Right. So they're just out without pay. So we just got to make sure that we educate people on their rights, employment rights, housing, or, you know, that's supposed to end in December with the eviction, people being evicted from their homes. I do know that because of the late signing of this bill, people are going to lose at least a week's pay of unemployment from looking at reading the information because of when it was signed. You know, they came to a final agreement. The Democrats came to an agreement to vote for the package that they had to try to get people some relief. And then our president came back and said, no, I don't want to give them that. I want to give them $2,000. And then the Democrats called their bluff and said, well, we're on board with that. Let's sign off on it. And then the Republicans came back and said, no, you know, they were going to veto it. If, you know, so.
This has been an ongoing thing since May. I mean, they've been working on it all this while. So then at the last minute, he decides to change his mind.
Well, we got people
You know,
people who are in desperate need though. We got people, it's this is not a game. This is real life. But I'm just hoping that people spend wisely. We gotta spend wisely, and because you never know what the government is gonna do. We gotta spend wisely. Another thing that I'm just encouraging and asking the public to please wear your mask. People are still not wearing masks.
And then those who are wearing them, some of them don't really know how to wear them. I think it should be a class on just how to wear your mask. You know, some people wear a mask, then cover the nose, they only cover the mouth, and a lot of times they contaminate it by placing it under their chin, and then they put it back on. And so they need to know why we wear a mask, what the ramifications are if you contaminate the mask.
Right.
You know, they need to know all those things.
Right. You need to wash those masks.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about a little about, we got a few more minutes, but I want to talk about, we're talking about what has happened all around the world but, my heart goes out, the 2-year-old that was shot, had a, gun that, found a gun that shouldn't have been there. To my understanding, the gun was stolen, but she had the gun and shot herself. So we just gotta, parents, we just gotta be careful with guns, period. We gotta make sure that they're not in a place where our kids, where it's easy access for our children, because they're innocent. They don't know any better. They don't know any different. And so we just got to make sure that we protect our children from guns and things like that. I'm just hoping and praying. Our city just need repeatedly prayer. We've gotten away from that, even, especially with COVID. We're not able to go to church, and but I know most churches do still have virtual. But I just think that we need that at some Sundays. We just need to just have prayer. Our country needs healing. Our maker needs healing. I just wish that the NAACP, the churches, the different organizations, we can put aside who's being seen or who's going to get the most credit for doing what. We could put all of that aside and come together for our city, because our city is in pain. City, county, we're in pain. We're hurting. Right. Financially, we're hurting. Emotionally, we're hurting. Medically, I just think that we need to, and that's why President Dumas and I talked about, we just need to get it basically lined up for every show. We need to have somebody that comes on with a prayer every time we have a show, because I just know that prayer changes things, and I know that we have to get back into the moment of praying, making it a everyday habit of praying, not just on Sunday, or everyday habit. And we just got to come together to heal our nation across this country. Yeah,
absolutely, because there's so many things going on at one time, and it makes it quite difficult because you get through one crisis and then you're faced with another. And so, particularly here in Middle Georgia, we've had the big uptick in violence, and then we have people who not able to afford to have their health care needs taken care of, as well as trying to provide for their families. And so there's several crises, that we're facing all at once.
yeah, and but laws were passed under the previous administration in Georgia where you don't have to show a permit. Even though police can't stop you, to ask you whether you have permit to carry a weapon or not. So I just didn't understand that law. People can just walk around with a gun and you don't know whether somebody have a mental illness. You don't know whether somebody has a history of shooting somebody. You don't know whether or not they even should have a gun. So you put even law enforcement in a position where they can't even walk up to somebody asking whether or not they have a permit to tote a gun. They were even trying to have guns on campus. All of this kind of we already have enough shooting at these schools as it is. And so I'm just not under, they use this stand your ground law, and we know what it means. It's basically meant for you to protect your property if somebody comes in your home, but they've taken it out of context and they're using it to just shoot and kill folks how they see fit. They're using the law in the way that fits for their best interest. But we got to get a control over these gun laws. Or when you start talking about that, you a lot of people get upset, and and they say, and it is true at some point. They say it's not the gun, it's the person that carries the gun, and that is true to a certain extent. But people buy guns for different reasons. So I just we just got to get a control over on this violence. We got to get some control. Nobody knows an answer.
Right.
If anybody had an answer, then we wouldn't have had these many killings this year in Macon. But nobody really has an answer. We don't know what goes through a person's mind. We don't know. Like I said, I said over and over, you gotta love yourself before you can love anybody else. You gotta, respect your own life before you thinking about taking somebody else's life. So we got to learn how to deal with conflict resolutions. We got to figure out a way to deal with that. We can't go get a gun and come back. Some people tote guns, and that's because of the life they live. Some people tote guns, so they're ready whenever something happens. They're ready,
And a big part of that is all the tensions that people are facing right now. You're quarantined, from a mental health standpoint, people have a lot of anxiety now. You may step on someone's foot, you may look at them the wrong way. People just are in a high mode of tension during these pandemics. And so for violence to spark is very easy. So we have to be mindful not to start road rage with people,
Yeah.
not to start at the gas pump, these kinds of situations can pop off very
People
quickly.
not thinking. They're not
Yeah,
thinking.
people are not thinking.
They just react to whatever happened and not even thinking about consequences after that. And then that's when they send a letter to us, you know, and sometimes it's just nothing we can do. It just depends on the situation that our hands are tied on certain things. But I'm just encouraging. It's not just young people. It's mostly young people, but not all young people. Because some of us are old enough and got sister enough that we know, know.
Right.
We just gotta think about, before you get the hothead, you need to think about your family. You need to think about your mom. You putting your mom in a situation where she can't help you. Somebody got to get your children and raise your children. You need to think about all of that when you all start when thinking about doing something that's going to cause bodily harm to somebody else, the consequences behind it, how it affects everybody else, not just you. Sometimes people don't like to be made to look stupid in front of people. People don't like to be made to be embarrassed. Excuse me. A lot of this stuff is peer pressure. You got adults that still have they don't like to be made to be. They don't like to be made to look a certain way in front of people, and they take that as being weak.
Right.
And so we just gotta get over that. Sometimes you're just a better person just to walk away.
Absolutely.
To walk away. I'm just encourage everybody that's listening. We just gotta reach our young, middle age, our adults, or our young. We just gotta reach them. Maybe the more and more we have these shows, maybe somebody is listening. We just gotta reach them some kind of way, but nobody has an answer. We just gotta come together as one, because people don't listen to folks when people separated. So right now, the NAACP, the churches, all of us are separated, and people wonder why we can't come together and deal with these issues, to come together to help the people in the community. But for some reason, we can't do that. So people,
and it always revolves back to leadership. Even with what we see happening, with the current administration, all the pardons that have been given to individuals who have committed known crimes, things that were, heinous in a sense, and yet they're, part of those crimes. It sends some type of message, to other folks as it relates to, getting justice and what justice really is.
Well, believe me, Mr. Dumas, I got about 4 people I'm going to be asked to be pardoned in January. So hopefully I'll have all my documentation. Hopefully we can get these people pardoned, because surely if all these folks can be pardoned, these 4 people right here that I got, I need to be pardoned. I'm going to be asking for the governor to pardon some people, cases that we're working on.
So we want to look at the same scale.
Right. Surely. So we got a few more minutes. Do we have any other announcements that we want to make? I know that we're planning something for MLK Day. It's going to be virtual, and we have Founders Day for the NAACP. We're going to be doing something virtual for that, but that's going to be in February, so we'll make those announcements. Probably next week we'll have had another meeting so we can finalize everything and get everything together with those plans and get a flyer out. But it'll be virtual.
One of the things I do want to share is, just like the guidelines that were given by CDC as it related to the holidays of Christmas, we want to look at those same guidelines for the upcoming New Year celebration. And so we got to still use social distancing.
Stay home.
Stay home.
You go out, wear your mask.
Stay home.
That would be the best bet.
Stay home.
And so
do some Zoom parties.
Yeah, we know it's a different time.
That's what I encourage my family this weekend when I met when I was calling it around and wishing everybody a Merry Christmas, and I got family in Savannah and different places, and I said, what we gonna do? And they was like, that's a good idea, let's do that. So we're gonna set up a Zoom. I need all you all's emails so we can we're gonna start communicating like that. We will still be able to see each other, and they thought it was a good idea.
That's what we've done for all the holidays this year. We've been doing Zoom parties. So we did Christmas, Thanksgiving, and then every once in a while they'll throw one in there so we can do a Zoom
encouraging
party.
everyone, stay home.
Yeah.
Stay home. You can
we
have
all stayed home
by yourself
and did a Zoom party. And it was fun.
It's better to be safe than sorry.
True. Better to do the Zoom party than a funeral.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And before we go, we do want to send our condolences to all of those families who have lost loved ones during this COVID epidemic, and particularly during the holidays, because December itself is usually a very hard time as it relates to death. And so when you look at the numbers of people who have died just in the last few days, it's very alarming. And our hearts go out to those families that have lost loved ones.
And we just want to make sure that we keep the Hunt family in prayer. Miss Sarah Hunt's family, we want to keep them in prayer. Mr. Hayes' family, that we know that are members of the NAACP, want to keep them in family. I mean, keep them in prayer. But you know, Ms. Hunt was the president of the National Network, and we just recently lost her, so we want to keep her family in continuous prayer. Yes,
as well as our newly elected DA.
Yes, and we're gonna get her. Yeah, that's right. Anita Howard lost her father. We just want to also keep her. I reached out to her, but we just want to make sure that we keep her in prayer also.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, we've only got about 2 minutes left in the program, and we'd just like to thank all of you, our listeners, those listening by Facebook, Instagram, and by 980 Radio. We thank all of you for tuning in.
And membership is $30 per year to join. And also, I forgot in this past Sunday's paper, we had all the recipients for the Earl T. Shinholster's Freedom Fund Awards. They were in the newspaper this weekend on Sunday. So make sure you get a paper if you haven't gotten one. We have all the pictures of recipients in the newspaper this past Sunday.
All right.
So you're still able to donate to the NAACP Earl T. Shinholster's Freedom Fund Awards. You're able to donate. We have PayPal associated. You still can make a donation to the Freedom Fund Awards.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. I'm Willie Lewis, your host, along with Gwen Westbrook and Maria Bryant, saying have a great evening, and we'll see you on next Monday.
And don't forget to vote. Get out and vote. Please get out and vote.
Thank you for listening. Thank you.
You have been listening to the live broadcast of the